You know, school's going to start obviously Monday, and they have to start managing more than just football, you know, with their academics and all the other things that go along with it. So there's more things to be distracted from practice and meetings and things like that. So they just got to learn to focus when it's time to focus and take care of business, you know, outside of football. But, you know, I thought overall it was a very good camp. I thought the guys worked really hard. I thought we got better. You know, the only problem is now we got 2 more weeks before we play a game, and you can get stale. And you know, but we are going to begin to work some scout teams, and we're going to start getting ready for Wednesday's scrimmage, which will be a practice game against Florida A&M, and we'll have, you know, offense and defense on the same sideline for the first time. We'll be substituting for kicking for the first time. We'll be bench control for the first time. We'll probably simulate coaches up in the box during the scrimmage and all that kind of thing. Speaking of scrimmage, oh man, save the day. I've got better stats than usual because it's hard to get stats right away. All right, you probably won't be able to write these down, but that's why they make recorders. We'll start with defense, and these are really little, okay? So I might struggle here for a minute. It's a lot of names. Wow, I should have had them sorted by most to least. I will tell anybody who had a tackle, I'm going to go ahead and say their name. Demetrius Jackson had 2 tackles. Joe Jackson had 2. Cortell had 1. McIntosh had 4. Moten had 1. Muhammad had 2. Norton had 1. Chad Thomas had 2. Gerald Willis had 3. Excuse me, had 5. Gordonier had 1. Jermaine Grace had 5. Cray had 1. Shaq Quarterman had 3. Mike Smith had 2. Tauber had 1. Jamal Carter had 1. Roman Finley had 4. All right. Jeff James had 2. Rayshon had 1. Quan Johnson had 3. Cedric Wright had 2. Adrian Colbert had 2. Korn and Henley had 1 apiece. Mike Jackson had 5. And then we had Redwine with 1. So that's a lot of that. I'll go over sacks. D-Jax had a sack. Gerald Willis had 2 sacks. Jermaine Grace had 1 sack. Quan Johnson had 1 sack. Pass breakups, all these guys had 1. Joe Jackson, he must have batted it at the line. Moten, Jamal Carter, Finley, Jeff James, Jenkins, Rayshon Jenkins, Quan Johnson, and Mike Jackson all had 1. These guys had 2. Adrian Colbert had 2 breakups. Malik Young had 2 breakups. Interceptions, we had 1 interception. Corn Elder. And we had, that's pretty good for defense. That's enough of that, huh? All right, if you're not bored yet, Kaya had, thought he hit 80%, but I got a little carried away the other day. He did hit 62% of his passes, 21 of 34 for 395 yards, 4 TDs, and a pick. Rozier hit 3 of 7 for 19 yards and 1 touchdown. Jack was 0 for 6 with a pick. Vincent was 4 for 8 for 42 yards. Sheriff's was 2 for 3 for 4 yards. Rushing, Walton had 8 carries for 39 yards, 4.9 average. Joe had 2 rushes for 20, 10 yards a carry. Gus had 15 carries for 57 yards, 3.8. Homer had 6 rushes for 50 yards, average of 8.3. Atkins had 13 carries, averaged out, 4 carries for 13 yards, 3.25. Malik had 22 yards on 2 rushes, 11 yards. Unless Malik Rozier, we were live with the QB position. Vincent had 1 carry for 6 yards. Sheriff's had 3 rushes for 22 yards for 7.3. Receiving, Coley had 5 receptions for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Barrios had 3 catches for 87 yards. A touchdown that was called back, 29 yards a catch. Dale had 5 catches for 79, 15.5 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of which was called back. Langham had 2 receptions for 17 yards. 8.5. Bruce had 2 catches for 18 yards, 9 yards of catch, and Mitch Davis had 1 catch for 11 yards.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all you need, because I got plenty. Okay, you can answer.
You mentioned, you know,
two
now
more.
the concern is not making sure they don't get stale. How
Right.
do you do that next week? Is it just the fact
Well,
you're moving into kind
yeah,
of game
part of
planning
it,
mode?
yeah. Hopefully, game plan mode will help them get excited. And yesterday, we didn't meet in the afternoon with the players. We just met at night, and the coaches were working on finalizing the game plan for FAM. And same thing today. And then, you know, Sunday, depending on how far along we are as coaches, we may come in and continue with that. So by Monday, we'll be ready to present a pretty strong, at least bits and pieces of the game plan as it's going to happen, as we're going to call it in the game. So,
Can I have a 1A and 1B? I'm wondering about Amon. I didn't see him out there, and I was also wondering something about scrimmage.
Amon, he had a personal issue to take care of today.
Okay.
But
And
he'll be here Monday.
The only other thing, you were talking about the scrimmage Wednesday. Is that scrimmage is here?
It's got to be here. I mean, I would love to have it at the stadium, but we're not allowed to get there yet.
And Friday also here, I guess?
It's not a scrimmage Friday. It's a situation. I call it a situational scrimmage. We really thought we situations that don't come naturally on Wednesday will orchestrate. In other words, we're just going to play a half of football. It's going to be the second half on Wednesday. We'll be down maybe by 24 points or something. We got to crawl back in the game, fight our way back in the game, and then whatever happens, happens. Just play it like it happens. And then if there's certain situations that we haven't hit that didn't happen in the scrimmage, then Friday we'll orchestrate that.
Thank you.
Just be more situational. Last one, because I got guys waiting on me.
No question about Pinckney. Obviously, he's just still out here working.
Yeah, he's just not quite ready.
Yeah, at what point, Mark, does he have to kind of get out here to show you? I know it's a
Well,
couple weeks
he
from
showed
game.
us a lot in the spring. If he was a true freshman without spring ball, I doubt we'd be thinking a whole lot about trying to get him ready. But he showed enough in the spring that we think he can play at this level, and he's a pretty sharp kid. So we just got to get him healthy. All right, guys.
Thank you.